Hello everyone, welcome back to Summer Sports here on Cable 9, your community channel. And this week we're going to have what we call a special program because it involves Special Olympians and what's going on with the Special Olympics. And our guest today on the far right of me is Mike Walsh, who's the Executive Director, Mike, I take, with the Special Olympics Association.
Yes, that's correct.
And with me again, of course, Randall Wheeler of our Summer Sports crew, and we're all together. And Mike, I was in the office one day and I got a brochure, came Delta's Great Ride for the medals. Now, it's the Delta Hotel, I understand, involved, but on the back it says for Special Olympians. What's involved in this?
Actually, the Delta Hotels is the newest sponsor of Canadian Special Olympics. They came on stream about a year ago. They had another charity for 10 years, and a new CEO came in and put it out to the Delta employees as to who they would like to see as a new charity of choice. And the response came back from the search team, and Special Olympics was named overwhelmingly. So we're very appreciative to be involved with the Delta Hotels. What makes them unique from many of the corporate sponsors out there is that they want to take a hands-on approach in terms of provide not just handing the check over to the organization. What they've come up with is the Great Canadian Ride, and what that's going to take place, it's all across the country on September 17th in all the Delta properties. They're going to have a bike ride. It's a 40-minute stationary bike ride. We'll have 4 members to ride 10 minutes and to raise money. All the proceeds going directly to the programs and athletes of Special Olympics. At
the brochure that I did get, it says, in addition, there are prizes to be awarded in categories, and I suppose that's what you donate, isn't it?
What is each rider will be asked to get a minimum of $50 in pledges, and for that, once they receive that $50 in pledges, they will get a Great Canadian Ride T-shirt, and once they achieve past $50, there are certain sponsorship plateaus in which they will receive other bonuses. And this year it's through Roots Canada. I think it goes at $100, $350, up to $1,000 in pledges, and they are going to have other challenges in addition to the funds raised themselves. They're going to have a challenge. Last year they had a bike rider in Ontario who raised money and decided to do a endurance and rode the bike for the full 8 hours.
Now, I got the brochure and it came in the mail. People obviously can't get these brochures in the mail. Where can you pick this up?
You can pick the brochures up at our Special Olympics office at 210 Water Street or at the Delta Hotels here in St. John's themselves.
Have you gotten any response so far to this particular issue?
Right now, each hotel had a specific target set. In St. John's, it was 24 teams. Right now, we have 12 teams signed up now, and of the 12 teams, 7 of those teams are in the Delta Hotel staff themselves. We've been going in, and the whole thing with this program is that it's twofold for us. It's to raise funds for Special Olympics, but also to increase awareness. We've gone in and did presentations to the whole Delta staff, some 200 employees that work down in that hotel, so we've increased the awareness and we'll gain volunteers from this event as well.
Mike, I understand that you have another special event coming up that's going to involve some NHL personalities. Maybe you could fill us in on that.
Yes, actually, September is the busiest month of the year for Special Olympics in Canada, and in our province in particular. It signals the start of our program year. Our programs typically run from September to June, with some programs running in the summer, such as softball and soccer, five-a-side soccer. This September we have 2 great events that are going to take place. Our Sports Celebrities Festival, and we'll have our 2nd annual breakfast at the Delta Hotel in St. John's, and we're very fortunate to have 3 celebrities coming in, and hopefully a 4th. Actually, Terry Ryan Jr. has made a commitment, but depending on how his hockey career turns out, he may be in Boston with any luck.
And wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I'm a die-hard Bruins fan. Yeah. Our Sports Celebrities Breakfast is going to take place on the 23rd of September, which is a Thursday morning, and we're very fortunate to have Gary Green, who's a TSN personality, a former youngest coach in the National Hockey League, coaching the Washington Capitals, and his good friend, who he was able to convince to come up this year, which is Mike Keenan. A lot of people know him as Iron Mike Keenan, a very, very nice gentleman, and had the fortune to speak with him, and he's very much looking forward to coming and meeting the people here in this province.
Also, I suppose the only way I can determine or talk about this individual who's your other personality coming down is the goofball from TSN, and John Gallagher is going to come down. Isn't that true?
That's correct. John Gallagher is our third celebrity that's coming down, and I had the pleasure of meeting John out in Corner Brook this past March with the Canada Games out there, and he'll certainly add a unique flavour to our event. His humour and it will certainly be a great hit with all the participants for sure.
We're talking unique flavour. The guy is in left field. He's been there for years, and it should be totally enjoyable. When the media get down there, it should be totally enjoyable. If a person wanted to get tickets or wants to go to that luncheon or that breakfast, down at the Delta that morning, it starts bright and early, 7 o'clock. How do they go about this?
The breakfast itself runs from 7 to 9:30, and it includes a silent auction as well as your breakfast and some live auction items that we'll have there. And for tickets, you can contact our provincial office at 738-1923, and tickets are $35 with a portion going as a tax receipt, and you can purchase corporate tables of 10 for $350. And there's some unique items that the Sports Celebrities Festival gets in specifically for this event. Some of the items that we'll have up on auction, for example, is Guy Lafleur in his Montreal uniform with the trophies, the Hart Trophy and the Stanley Cup. Some unique items signed off just for the Sports Celebrities Festival event.
Should get a book for that, I suppose. Montreal organisation. Any Bruin memorabilia?
Yes, actually, I have some nice Brad Park autographed pucks from a couple of years ago. They're gone out now, but there are some nice Bruin memorabilia as well.
Anything we can get an inside track on?
I'm working on it.
Tug on the ear, right, or just move the glasses, right?
We're working on it now with our national office. They have some really nice stuff that's going to be released. And one of the unique items I just got off the phone before I came out here today is Wayne Gretzky is in Edmonton, and he has committed to over the next few years, hopefully, to do every SCF event. So in the next 5 to 7 years, hopefully we'll see Mr. Gretzky down here in our fair province. He's actually going to sign a couple of pieces for our event this year.
Terrific. Mike, it was announced recently that the Summer Games, of course, being held in Mount Pearl in the year 2000, the Newfoundland Summer Games, and Special Olympics are also going to be incorporated in that. That must please you quite a lot.
Very much so, actually. It's been a progress that Special Olympics has been going after on a national level as well as a provincial level for many years. We have a good working relationship with the provincial government here now, Patty Thorne, and the department in there, Jim T. And what our purpose was, certainly at the Canada Games in March, we went out and met with the Canada Games Council, and they have a memorandum of understanding signed now with Swim Canada that athletes with a mental disability will be included for the first time in the 2001 Games up in London, Ontario. So these games will be more important for our athletes in the 2000 Games here in Mount Pearl, and the fact that athletes from here will actually qualify to go to 2001 Games for the first time.
Mike, I'm often asked how do the athletes respond to the integration of athletes with certain disabilities? You have your athletes who obviously don't have any disabilities or competing, they're your top notch. How does the integration work?
For the most part, it works very well. There are certain sports that tend themselves to allow for integration more so than others. For example, athletics certainly allows itself when you have relay races in which you have able-bodied and disabled athletes that would compete to make a relay team, as well as aquatics. The same sort of a scenario happens. And what we do in addition to that is a parallel competition. You will have within the sports themselves, athletics and aquatics, you would have Special Olympic events such as in swimming the 25 and the 50 meter backstroke and breaststroke, the same as the able-bodied athletes would do. And we also encourage our athletes. We have athletes within our programs that train at their own ability level. For many of the athletes, Special Olympics may be coming to the bowling alley once a week or coming to the track to meet with their friends and get in some training. For others, we have athletes the past 2 years that have competed in the Telly 10, the road race here in St. John's. So we have athletes of all ability levels, and we encourage them to participate at the level they choose.
Mike, how many folks in Newfoundland are involved in Special Olympics right now?
Right now we have 31 local sport clubs in 8 regions of the province, including Labrador. We're continuing to grow on a daily basis. We get a lot of calls for new programs to start up. And the other aspect that we're looking to do is to try and to increase the awareness and to develop more programs.
And the money that's raised from special events like this go to developing more programs?
All the funds raised from the programs that we do, the events we do here, stay in the province. Our budget is over $300,000 a year now, and we're very much event-driven. Our competition cycle goes the same as the generic Olympics. We have our qualifiers regionally to provincial, onto national games and international games. We just had Jeremy Mueller, a young boy from Torbay, 15 years old, who came back. He competed here in Mount Pearl in '97 and qualified to represent Newfoundland at the Canada Special Olympic Games last year, '98, up in Sudbury, Ontario. And from there he was selected to Team Canada, and he just got back there in July at the World Games in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. So it's very much on a 3-year cycle, competition cycle, provincial, national, and international. And right now, as we speak, we have a team set to go to Ottawa for the first games of the new millennium at 2000 games in January.
Mike, how are you finding it for people who want to get involved as coaches with various athletes or various sports?
Within our organization, we provide the training for anyone that wants to volunteer. If someone out there that wants to volunteer with our organization, they have to come down to our office, and we would do an orientation on our organization, what we're all about, and define where they want to volunteer. If they want to volunteer with the athletes in the local club, then we provide the training for them. We're associated with the National Coaching Certification Program. We actually have a component in that program, the Special Olympics Technical course, which talks about disabilities and how to deal with individuals with disabilities. And for our athletes, our volunteers have the same opportunities to go and represent their province and their country. In the past years, we've had volunteers that have gone on to Salzburg, Austria, Arnold Schwarzenegger's hometown. In '93, the World Games were over there, and we had 3 of our coaches represent Canada, as well as 4 of our athletes in Austria. So for anyone that wants to volunteer, they can commit as much time as they wish. If it's a couple of hours a week in the gym, or 10 or 15 hours a week training athletes to go on to provincial and national games.
Mike, these are special athletes, and there must be a lot of rewards, not only for the athletes, the parents, the volunteers, each time that they do accomplish, whether you win a medal or not.
That's one of the things that drew me to Special Olympics when I first got involved, is the genuine sincerity of the athletes. In the day and age of the multi-million-dollar contracts and people refusing to do this and that, going to training camp, and our athletes are very sincere. I was at a track and field meet out here in Mount Pearl 2 years ago, and we had 2 of our lower ability athletes doing the 50 meters, and they were both from different areas of the province. One fell down, the other stopped, went back and helped them up, and they crossed the finish line, and they looked at each other and said, "We won." And to me, that certainly is what Special Olympics is all about, the genuine sincerity of the athletes. Whether they come first or last, they appreciate just the opportunity to get out and compete.
Yeah, there's a special camaraderie there among the athletes themselves that you don't see with other athletes, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. We've been Newfoundlanders and our hospitality at national games. The national games in Calgary in '96, our team was awarded the most spirited team of the games, and it's something that we certainly pride ourselves on with the athletes and the coaches. The philosophy they teach the athletes, because not whether you're professional or a Special Olympic athlete, there's always that competitive edge there, and it's important to make sure that is filtered along with the good sportsmanship.
How have the Special Olympians from Newfoundland stacked up with other provinces across the country?
We have some great athletes here in this province. We've had one young lady who was named the Canadian Special Olympics Female Athlete of the Year in 1997, and we've also had 2 of our coaches that have been named the National Coach of the Year of some 8,000 coaches. In Canada, Special Olympics, we have 20,000 athletes registered, and one of the things that we're striving as an organization to do is to reach out to more people. In this province alone, there's a potential of 18,000 Special Olympians out there, and right now we're servicing a little over 350 athletes, so it certainly is a challenge to have the funds to get out there and establish programs.
Is there, say, a bit of apprehension on behalf of a parent, say, to get their child to become involved in sports?
That's the biggest thing that we encounter in Special Olympics. It's for a parent of a so-called normal person, the apron strings are pretty tight when they're age 5 to 10 years old, and for an athlete or a parent of a Special Olympics athlete, they're even that much more tighter, because they are a vulnerable population, and trying to let their guard down and for them to find out that the programs do provide great opportunities for their sons and daughters. And the biggest thing we preach at Special Olympics is that the sports skills also enhance their life skills. We have athletes that, through their involvement in Special Olympics, have gone out and improved socially and been able to become more accepted in the community. Many of our athletes now have memberships in the local gymnasiums, participate in the recreation softball leagues and the bowling leagues and whatever sports they're involved in.
Well, I guess that's the same. Sports brings the same kind of attributes to everybody. I mean, Obviously, the Special Olympians develop more confidence in themselves, learn cooperation, basically the same as anybody who would participate in sports.
Exactly. That's one of the unique things about the Special Olympics, that it provides the vehicle for these individuals to increase their self-esteem, to increase their self-confidence, and to become more complete individuals in the community.
Right. Mike, how do you find the corporate community as far as helping out with the Special Olympians, or people if you go looking for donations? How does that work?
As an organization out there are many worthy charities, and we're fortunate that on a national and a provincial level we have some very good corporate partners. And however, the demand on the organization, as well as the demand for the dollar, it's becoming more challenging every year, and the public out there is more concerned on how they spend their dollars. So you have to be very aware of what you put out there in terms of fundraising events, and make sure that people are going to get good value for their dollar, and ensure that their dollar is being well spent on the athletes.
It's the Mike Keenan situation. Gary Green, I take it, has been a friend of Special Olympians. I talked to Gary last year for a long time.
Gary's been associated with Special Olympics since the first festival event back in 1986, and when he came down last year, we quickly developed a good friendship, and he personally got Mike Keenan to come down for us as a friend and neighbor down in Boca Raton, his hometown. And next year he's hoping to bring some more NHL players to the event for us.
Well, we want to mention too as well, while we're on the subject of that breakfast, it's not just a breakfast for that. That breakfast happens and then they move across the province. I take it Keenan and Company?
That's correct. It's actually for anyone that's a sports enthusiast that want to get involved. The breakfast kicks off the event Thursday morning at the Delta Hotel with the breakfast and auction, and from there we pack the whole show up and move out to the Terranova Park Lodge and Golf Course for a very exclusive golf tournament. It's a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and for $525 a person gets an all-inclusive weekend, all their meals, 3 rounds of golf with their power carts for that whole weekend, and an opportunity to golf with our celebrities.
I was talking earlier about the Special Olympians being involved in the Newfoundland Summer Games. What are some of the events that they're going to be taking part in?
For the 2000 Summer Games here in Mount Pearl, the 2 events that we've targeted to have integration involved is aquatics and athletics, and we've had great cooperation from George Thenoff at the Athletics Federation here, and as well as Sue Weiser with Swim Newfoundland. So we're very excited, and actually I sit on the 2000 organizing committee as the integration person, so to hopefully make sure that it gets the best benefit for the athletes and the other athletes involved in the games.
Mike, as a person, I speak from my own experience, having organised the Telly 10 for a number of years. When you see a Special Olympian taking part, they have to have coaches training. They have to train in the spring and in the winter. You got to get out and you got to get your runs in. So how has this worked for the athletes or the coaches?
Again, we were very fortunate that we had coaches come to our organization who had that interest. The law enforcement torch run is one of our great supporters, and we've been fortunate to have some of our law enforcement officers take some of the athletes under their wing who have had the desire and had the ability to be distance runners. And from them last year, I remember them training in the winter time 3 and 4 days a week, running here through Mount Pearl and St. John's along the tunnels and along the streets. So it's certainly a great time commitment from our volunteers, and without our volunteers we wouldn't exist today as an organization.
A lot of time and effort to be put in by an athlete too, I can tell you, from having run the Telly 10 as well, right?
For certain.
Okay, now let's get down to the dates. We got the Delta, which is September 17th and is a ride.
That's right. It's a 10-minute stationary bike ride and teams of 4. The event we think is unique in that we hope the corporate community will jump on side. It's a lot easier to go and ask your boss for an hour and a half or 2 hours off to support a charity than a lot of events that are out there now that probably entail a day or 2 days or a weekend. So we think it has a great mix that would allow people to get out and do their part for charity, and we're certainly looking forward to the success of this ride.
It's also a person to find out whether or not the legs are in shape after the summer. And that's on the 17th, and then you've got your breakfast set for?
The 23rd.
And the big name?
Mike Keenan and Gary Green, and of course John Gallagher.
And if anybody wants to see a screwball, you see John Gallagher coming to town. Well, we hope, Mike, that we can get down there. We'll be down hopefully to here on Summer Sports to shoot some of the breakfast and have a chat with Gary Green, because we carried his hockey predictions last year on Sports Hour, and turned out pretty interesting.
Excellent.
And it's a good time to corner him and maybe Mike Keenan.
And I'm sure Mike Keenan would be glad to speak to you as well.
And maybe Mike Keenan can tell us what he thinks of Thierry Ryan.
Exactly.
We had Terry on last week. Mike Walsh has been our special guest from the Special Olympians here on Summer Sports, and we wish them all the luck. And if you get a chance to get to the breakfast or you get down to ride the bike, please do so to help out these athletes. Myself and Randy Wheeler will be back on Summer Sports right after this timeout. Here we are back on Summer Sports here on Cable 9, your community channel, as the sun breaks in and out of the clouds here at Mount Pearl. And interesting, Randy, to see how the Special Olympians get involved in the Summer Games, and also the people that are willing to help this organisation.
Sure, and Mike mentioned something that I always found interesting, and that's the true joy of competing. That you can see that on the faces of these athletes. It's just the joy of being able to compete. It doesn't matter whether they win or lose, and it's so refreshing because, as Mike said, you know, in this day and age of high-priced professional sports and all the rest of it, you sometimes lose track of what sports is supposed to be all about.
That's the main thing, and I hope people get out, because Mike Keenan should be an interesting speech from Mike Keenan to find out what's going on, maybe in hockey, and Gary Green as well. As I said to Mike, he said on Sports Hour last year what teams were doing what, and who are the teams going to be the beat coming year? Who do you think, without seeing rosters or knowing what's going on, what can we look at? I mean, you got to look at Detroit as possibly being back. If Hossack is healthy, he had his groin operated on, he had something else done to him, he should be okay.
Yeah, and it will be interesting. I'm not going to predict them to win the whole thing, but it's going to be interesting to see, with all the changes that the New York Rangers made over the summer, if that's going to turn that franchise around and at least get them to the second round of the playoffs. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Montreal and Toronto fans out there wondering what's going to happen, and I think Montreal will make it to the playoffs this year, but they won't go much further unless they make some major moves, which I can't see them being able to afford to make. Be interesting to see where Toronto goes this year, whether they'll move up or slide back a bit, to see if people like Ladislav Cohn and Lonnie Bahanis will be with the team this year.
You got Mike Smith gone, you got Anders Hedberg gone, now Pat Quinn has got total control. Ken Dryden probably saying, well, I've got control of this team and here's the way it's done. And, you know, these two guys gone, is that going to be a big effect on the team?
I don't think it's going to be a major effect. I think that they were going to stand fairly pat with the team that they had that finished last year. Because let's face it, you have to give the Bahanises and the Cohns a chance to develop and see if they can fit in on the team. Plus, you're wondering about the future of Alan McCauley, who had the concussion last year. So I don't expect any major changes on Toronto. But like I said, sometimes after a team has had a lot of success unexpectedly, then the next year they might slide back a little bit, and they've got to guard against that.
I noticed in an article Brendan had in the Telegram, Mark Deal had another operation on his eye. Things are looking better, and you know, they went that one step further, and he's looking at maybe coming back to hockey now. I mean, I can see going from here to there is that's a big leap.
I found that surprising.
Yeah.
Now, it would be a marvellous thing if it happened to see Mark come back. Mark is optimistic that he could be playing again by December, which might be a little too optimistic. I don't know, but you know, it certainly would be a great thing to see him back on the ice with the St. John's Maple Leafs. Just to see him play again would be a terrific, uplifting story.
Would you be a bit apprehensive coming back to hockey? How could you come back? You know, I can see him with a wire cage on, or the visor. I don't think it'd be helpful.
Well, I think he's the type of player who'd probably come back with a visor. You know, maybe he should have been wearing one in the beginning, because he's not a robust player. He's not a fighter or checker as such. He's a playmaker. But you know, that's the same like if you get hit with a baseball in a pro game. I mean, you have to overcome that fear. Is it a risk? Of course it's a risk, but you know, it's his risk to take if he wants it.
Speaking of baseball, and you were talking about players getting hit with baseballs and stuff, what about baseballs this year? A lot of talk about baseballs being juiced up, or the bats being corked, or things being done. That proved interesting. There's guys hitting home runs. Was it Guerrero, the first Montreal player, 30-30? 30-30 home runs back-to-back? Back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, I don't know if the balls are juiced or not. I know that everything seems to be in favor of the hitter these days, and I think you already know my feelings on that. I think it's turned baseball into an absolute sham. Baseball now seems to be more like slow-pitch softball with the kind of, 14 to 12 scores that you see. I think something has to be done to bring the pitchers, back onto an even keel with this, if that means raising the mound a few inches or whatever. But I know you're bowing your head. I'm not advocating 2-1 games, but right now, when teams are leading the league are leading their division and their team earned run average is over 5. There's something wrong with the game.
Well, the mound is 10 inches high now. It used to be 12. Was this 12,
No,
15?
it used to be, I think it was around 16.
16, okay.
Yeah.
15 to 16.
Yeah.
Can you see a guy with like Randy Johnson and a 15-inch mound?
Well, the problem is the Randy Johnsons are so few and far between.
Yeah.
You look around at the teams that are doing well. Even the New York Yankees this year, they really only have 2 pitchers that are pitching well. And there used to be you could look at least 3 on each staff not that long ago. And there's just a dearth of good starting pitching out there, and that's the problem. You've got people playing in the major leagues who shouldn't be in the major leagues, and that's why there are so many hits and home runs. Plus the fact, of course, that you got so many parks that are turned into bandboxes.
Speaking of pitchers, didn't Pedro Martinez, wasn't he told where he had to be when he showed up late?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have had problems with Dan Duquette in the past, but in this case you have to come down on Dan Duquette's side, because if a player shows up late for his start, then he has to be disciplined. It doesn't matter if it's Pedro Martinez or whatever. No one player is bigger than the team, as the saying goes, and I can't blame Duquette for finding him or punishing him whatever way he did.
I suppose Tommy Lasorda was right, and sign is at the St. John's Maple Leaf dressing room. The name on the back is not more important than the name on the front.
That's right, and I mean the Boston Red Sox are in a race for the wild card spot, and they don't need that kind of a distraction, especially when it involves their number 1 pitcher.
If their number 1 pitcher continues, I mean, they've got knuckleballer Wakefield who's starting in the bullpen back and forth. That team, I don't know if it's a jinx or struggle to death or what the heck is going on, or they don't know what to do with the players, but injuries hit. There's some mystique in there somewhere.
Well, they've certainly been hit hard, especially in the pitching staff, with Tom Gordon gone for the rest of the year, and now Brett Saberhagen is on the disabled list, and they've had problems all year long with their starting pitching wasn't all that strong anyway once you got past Martinez. But, Pat Rapp and Mark Portugal and Brian Rose have been doing the best they can, but that doesn't exactly sound like a winning combination. But at time of taping, they still hold on to the wild card spot.
Who knows what will happen with the Boston Red Sox, the Boston Bruins, etc., and hockey players. Anyway, Mike Walsh was our special guest this week from the Special Olympics Association. If you get a chance to get involved in the ride down at the Delta, and you get to go to the breakfast down at the Delta later this month, we advise you. Mike Keenan coming to town. It should be great. And as you noticed the last couple of shows, Steve O'Brien hasn't been around. Hopefully he will be back in the next couple of weeks. Well, that's our show for this week. We're back in your living rooms with summer sports all within 7 days. Have a pleasant week.